live.
It's live, yeah, it says live. Okay, so we can all hear each other.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
I can hear.
Okay, so
Terrific.
let's talk about Class Dojo first.
Okay.
So, Kate, you have experience, or some experience, unlike the two of us, so why don't you give your opinion?
Okay, so Class Dojo was started in San Francisco, where there's a big ed tech boom going on right now. And a couple of guys kind of wanted to help out with classroom management, but they didn't really know what was needed. So they started observing classrooms, and it was like hundreds of classrooms that they went to and did teacher surveys and tried to figure out what the actual pain points, which is like the entrepreneurial term for what is the most aggravating problem that needs fixing in the classroom. And so for kids that were sort of misbehaving or being disruptive when the teacher was trying to get their attention, they didn't really have much of an incentive to stop goofing off. So Class Dojo basically is a software that was created in reaction to that challenge, and it helps teachers manage their room by giving each student a funny little like emoticon looking creature that the kid can actually like personalize themselves. It can have 7 arms or a crazy hat or be however funny looking they want. But the little icon that represents them stores data about their behavior. And so let's say a student is repeatedly not following directions, then this teacher would go on in the system and like mark down points for that little critter. And the thing about this is it's public. It's like usually projected on the board so everyone in class can see. And then it's nice for the teacher because all the data is stored on the platform. And if you want, you can send daily, weekly, however frequently you want reports to a parent. There's like a parent portal where they can sign in and look at the profile over time of if their kids, there's a word for the little critter that represents them, but if they're doing well or if they're having repeated problems. And it can also be forwarded to like administrators at the school or something like that. So it's very efficient in terms of organizing the data, and it's very public in the classroom. Everyone can see how everyone is doing. So all of that is like great, and the company's received a lot of attention and expanded pretty rapidly. The problem from my perspective is I've seen this implemented in classrooms where it becomes kind of like militaristic, like kids almost like don't want to move, or they're just sitting, like, okay, attention, I don't want my name to be up on the board.
Stigmatizing.
Yeah, and so in that way I like feel kind of weird about it. Also the creatures that represent the kids, it's like works better for a younger audience.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like high school is not as motivated by that. But sometimes it's like hard to be judgmental of classroom management practices with teachers because they might have like 30 kids and it's hard to get through the day, and it's a really different class in terms of socioeconomic status or whatever, and that's just like what they've got to do to get through the content for the day. So it's up to the teacher. It's just not my personal preference for teaching style.
I have pretty much the same feelings about it. I mean, I feel like just from the little bit I was tooling around on it a little bit, and I also feel this better for like under 8th grade or 8th grade and under. It wouldn't work in high school because it's a bit demeaning for them, I think, at that age. Besides that, it's a bit depersonalized, but I guess it isn't depersonalized for the kids that they get to choose their monsters. I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
But also, it's sort of like the teachers borrowing authority through the machine, which I find weird. I don't know, maybe that's too much of a concept for this, but it just seems a bit strange,
Yeah, it makes sense when you understand that it's born out of this sort of Silicon Valley, like mindset of like data management.
Exactly.
Then you're like, oh,
exactly.
Yeah. One thing I liked about it. Go on.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, I'll finish and you go. We'll just do it like that. Sorry, because it's But one thing I liked about it was the fact that two things I think are strong about it is that one, like you were saying before, is that a lot of teachers need help with classroom management, but also with record keeping. And I really think record keeping is an underrated skill when it comes to teaching. That's a really important thing, and it really helps people keep records, I think. The other thing I think is good is it keeps the parents involved. It's an easy way to get the parents involved. But on the other hand, I think that could be a detriment. It's sort of not all parents are. You don't want all the parents involved. I mean, some of the parents you wouldn't want involved. I would think it could be interfering with the class. But anyway, that's all I'll say right now. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. So I largely agree pretty much with both of your assessments, so I don't have much to add. It just seems like a pretty effective data compiling tool, and that can be useful. I mean, why have stacks of paper where you're keeping records if you can store records electronically?
Right.
So that seems like a strong point for this type of a database. And I also agree about the observation about including parents.
Yeah.
It's almost like inviting parents to be helicopter parents.
Yeah.
Teachers want the parents and students to be involved, but there's also a level of intervention that's unwelcome, and this
Right.
is like facilitating over-involvement.
Right, exactly, yeah. There's also that class story part where you can put photos and stuff, and I don't know. I was worried that could get negative. You could have people posting things you don't want there. Then you got to censor it, and that opens up a can of worms too. So
Right.
I don't know. I also like Kate's point about it being militaristic. I can see that. I've never seen it in the classroom at work, so I can believe that because that was kind of the impression I was getting just from being on it. It's a friendly militarism, but and also the teacher's always walking around with the device like it's some baton. I mean, I don't know. That's something I have to say about something that I had to research. But okay, so are we done with that? Should we move on?
Sure.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Kate went first.
Sure, I'll just go because I'll be brief. So I looked at Smartsheet, and it has some similarities to ClassDojo in that it does a lot of data keeping. So basically, you can organize on the platform where each student is sitting, and then you can take attendance based on that, and you can also record notes of how they're doing throughout the day on that. It can be helpful because you can rearrange where kids are sitting based on like if they're having problems sitting with other kids. It can be helpful because you can download as a spreadsheet who gets there at what time for attendance purposes, so you can send it right to your office, because I know schools are really big into what time each kid arrives. And you can also use it to like call on a kid and figure out who's been called on so far. So it might show, okay, 5 of the kids have been called on, and now these 7 kids haven't been talking, so by the end of this lesson I want to make sure each voice is heard. And if you want to use it privately on your screen as a teacher, you can, or you can display it publicly at the front of the class, so there can be the engagement of like other kids seeing whose voice hasn't shown up or whatever. So again, from the data management perspective, you're able to embed a lot of details in there that the teacher at the end of the day doesn't have to go type their notes and send it somewhere. It's just automatically in there. It was like, it seemed fine. Like, it seemed like something you would use not very often during the day, but maybe you would be in a routine of like using it every morning, or maybe you would be in a routine of using it every time you had like a important class discussion or something. You might use it frequently, just for like a couple minutes at a time. The other thing that I looked at was StopGo, and that's sort of different. It's not like each student has a profile like the last 2 platforms we talked about. StopGo is used for transitions and behavior management. So it's sort of based off like an actual traffic stoplight, where you have a green light and a yellow light and a red light, and you can set a timer so that it can go from green to yellow to red to like show the students visually, oh, we have a lot of time yet left. Oh, we're like halfway through, it's getting near to the end. And that can help kind of give kids a heads up with like how far into an activity they are. On the flip side, I also read reviews from teachers and parents saying that it can cause anxiety, because a kid is like doing an activity and then they're looking up and like the color's changing, and then they get this frantic feeling,
Right.
because they see something moving. So it's just whether or not a timer is helpful. What?
Get used to it, kid. It's called the rat race.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So it's kind of like a neat visual for transitions with a timer that you can display in front of the class.
Okay. So I guess the timing thing is supposed to help behavior. I use a timer actually when I teach ESL, but yeah, okay, okay. So did you like either of these? Would you use either one?
I think the difficult thing about the Smart Seat is that most schools that I've worked in have their own attendance system. So, like, I don't know that I would actually use someone else's platform and then send a spreadsheet to me to send it to the school. Like, usually schools have, at least the schools I've been at, have like a little paper form that someone in the class fills out and runs to the office, or it's something that you sign in on an iPad or computer in the room. You know, and that form, you fill out those fields, it goes directly to the office. So it would seem like an intermediary step to have a spreadsheet just for me. I do like the fact that it monitors who's raised their hand, because we're having difficult with that this year. I'm in a first grade room, and there's just a bunch of loud voices. A couple quiet ones.
Okay.
So you can tell who's talking.
Hey, Kate, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so you went out for a while. The last part we missed. Oh, you're gone again. Great. Shall we continue? What?
I said I don't know why.
Yeah, your visual's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, your last paragraph or so turned kind of robotic sounding.
Yeah. Do you want to try it again? That part? The last part, the last couple sentences?
Sure. What was I talking about?
Sorry. It's up to you. I mean.
Do you remember what I was talking about?
Before?
It's just the last few sentences.
Oh, I think I was just... The last thing I was saying, I think, is that the StopGo app, that maybe would try and use that for first graders, because they're very visual, and they do have a do better when they have left versus having to just abruptly, clean up or drop everything and go to the next. So I think they might get a kick out of the timer. You would consider trying.
Okay. All right. I think that came through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nate, do you mind if I go next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm not like her. I had to write everything down. Can you hear it? Kate, are you there too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I did Teacher's Kit and I did Instant Classroom, and I'll just try to make it as brief as possible. But Teacher's Kit, it kind of does the same thing. Some of the same things I think that all of these do, which is it tracks attendance, tracks behavior, tracks homework and grades, and seating charts. And it's for use on a smartphone, I think, as well as iPad, as well as other things. And it also spits out reports, like you can get kind of cool-looking graphics about your class. That's one of the pluses, I think. And I was thinking these graphics, if nothing else, they kind of give you an air of authority when you have meetings with the kids or with the parents. You can show them the graphic, how the class is as a whole and how the kid relates to the class or something like that. I have to say that it was strange because on their website, the testimonials, they had 9 testimonials and 8 were from guys. There was only 1 female testimonial. I don't know if that means anything, but it kind of got me off thinking that guys are a bit sloppier, generally, the guys I know. And so organization, this would actually be quite good as an organizational tool. I'm not against it. I actually think that if you have trouble, kind of some of the same reasons you were mentioning, Kate, in a different context. Like, if you have trouble organizing your class, it depends on the kind of class it is. This is a pretty good thing, I think, because you don't have to bring all these books. It does have backup in the cloud, and it reminds you to keep these records. Yeah, it keeps you keeping the records, kind of, and it makes you. I have trouble doing kind of behavioral grades day by day. That's something I don't like to do. But if I had something like this, maybe it would I'm sure it would force me to do it, and then I would at least have a record. It's going to be subjective every time, of course, but, at least it would be there. I don't think it's totally free, so that's kind of a negative. And for some of the same reasons that I don't like ClassDojo, or I'm not 100% behind ClassDojo, I wouldn't be 100% behind this, I don't really like the idea of having all these devices in the room and all that sort of thing. I rather like one-on-one relation. Yeah. The other one is Instant Classroom. This is completely free. They don't mention smartphones, though, so I'm not sure it's good for smartphones. It's pretty basic. You can make seating charts up to 100 students with photos. You can do a random name generator for asking questions, which I would think the only thing that's good about that is that it seems fair. And it also, the students want things to be fair, right? So it seems like you're not picking on them because the machine told me to ask you. Besides that, it has a random group maker. And if you search around a bit more on their website, I'm not sure this is included in Instant Classroom, but as far as behavior, they also have timers, they have Classroom Countdown, and they have games, all for free, like Classroom Jeopardy and things like that. So again, if I were going to use these in my classroom, something like this, I might experiment with Teacher's Kit, just because, I don't know. I mean, if it were to help with record keeping and organization, make it that much easier, and because I'm a guy, I don't like to shave and stuff like that, so that's about it.
Okay.
Nate?
I did Super Duper Data Tracker, and there's really nothing to add. It does all the same things that these other management systems do. I mean, I could read you the bullet points, but it would be completely redundant.
Okay.
It's not free. It graphs results. It provides a way to contact parents and track student performance. So I would say the upside would just be that it's an easy way to compile your data. And the first thing that I thought of when I was reading up on this, and I thought the same thing about Classroom Dojo, is first of all, it doesn't seem appropriate above a certain age. And for one thing that made me think that was, I'm imagining, say, a high school English class where they're reading 1984, and the students may be like, oh, that's like this classroom management system that we use. So as far as Super Duper Data Tracker goes, I would not use it spontaneously. I figure if, kind of like what Kate said, that if you work in a school where they're into that kind of thing, they would probably have one that they wanted to use.
Right.
And I don't see why one's really strongly differentiated from another. And so they all seem to have the same upside, which is the data compiling and not really much more to add about Super Duper. The other one was, the testimonials were kind of funny. It was called Too Noisy. But by the way, these both cost money.
Yeah.
And neither one of these is free.
It's so funny that,
Too
like...
Noisy.
Go ahead.
So Too Noisy, what it does is it keeps track of the decibel level in the room. And one of the testimonials showed, it indicated a teacher who was concerned that the students would see this technology as like a competition, like, ooh, can we get it so noisy that it'll set off the alarm?
I would.
And the other testimonial was, my students really love this. They consider it very engaging because they are able to set off the alarm. They both had the same observation. One thought it was great and one thought it was wrong.
So that's it, basically. It's a bad idea.
So, I mean, I think the teacher's discretion is probably a sufficient measure for whether or not the classroom's too noisy.
Yeah.
So if it's too noisy, just, be quiet. So
Oh
I
my
think you
gosh,
can save
my
the
kids
school,
would just scream.
save your school some money and don't get this app.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's very odd to me, just like, okay, it makes sense to me to use technology to track data and be organized. But it's very
Yeah.
odd to me, just conceptually, ideologically, that you'd be in a classroom with students, which is a very human experience, and that while you're in there with them, you're like controlling their behavior with technology.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
exactly. It's like the last place
Yeah.
where they're gonna have face-to-face interaction, in the whole world. Some little kid, some little first grader is gonna come to the classroom like, here, kid, talk to this, Take away their teddy bear, take away their friends. Here's a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Besides, I mean, isn't there sort of the whole issue whether you can learn from learn it, like this is an issue in ESL, right? Whether you're going to eventually learn from a computer or you're going to learn from the person. I mean, you learn from your mother and your father when you're little, yeah. So obviously, it's sort of human to learn from another person, isn't it? I mean, isn't it?
Yeah, modeling. So much of learning is just modeling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's organic to our brains. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I also think that like I've seen some teachers do cool things. Like I'll give an example. If a teacher is really overwhelmed because it's noisy, and instead of using a system or their voice to try and like override the noise, instead for them to just like be composed, be calm, like, and wait for the kids to notice. Even if it takes a minute, whatever. Wait for the kids to notice, and then just tell them, say, hey, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now, and this doesn't feel good for me because it's like I'm getting a headache, and I just want to share something interesting with you, but you can't even hear me because you're talking.
Right.
So I'm gonna take 3 deep breaths, and maybe you can take 3 deep breaths with me, and then I'll try and keep talking.
Right.
And doing something like that, like, shows an example of how they can self-regulate.
And they learn empathy too.
Sorry?
They learn empathy too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and you learn how to interact with humans that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what you would call that, but I tend to like veer towards more things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't talk in the noise. That's the first rule. The first rule I tell them is you don't talk when I speak. It's the only thing that really makes me angry in the classroom, actually. But
what do you do if someone tries to start talking while you're talking? Like, what do you do?
I stop. Eventually, like, for example, I reprimanded these. I've been subbing here, yeah, but I reprimanded these kids the other day, or like a couple weeks ago, and they got really mad because I put their name on the list, and they said, "Oh, damn, we're on the list." And I went over there, and then I explained to them the politics of it. I said, "Look, I have to put your name on the list so that everybody else see how quiet it is now." I said, "It's basic Machiavelli." I explained the whole thing to them, and I took their name off the list, and then they were okay. It was kind of strange. I mean, they're high school kids, but I was surprised it actually worked to explain the whole mechanism of, I have to make examples, and you were the example.
Right.
They were okay with it.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Nate?
Hello?
Any examples?
Do I have any examples of not talking over students?
I don't know. Behavior?
Oh, just
how to do
behavior issues?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, teaching college pretty much, the worst classroom management issue is, I don't know, hungover and not paying attention, I guess. But if people try to talk over me, I'll just stop. And they're big kids. They can handle some sarcasm. I'll be like, okay, I guess, you're going to teach class now.
Yeah.
That just shuts them up pretty quickly.
That's really funny. That's a good one. Yeah, I don't think my first graders get hungover, but they have their own set of issues.
Kool-Aid.
There's a kid that, I think I shared this the other
Sugar
night,
hangovers.
Oh yeah. Actually, my elementary school is trying to ban sugar. It's really interesting. There's like a parent committee that's been working with the dining hall to see if they can get it taken out of desserts. They've already got it taken out of all snacks. And when we have birthday celebrations, you can only bring in healthy snacks. And some classrooms now don't even allow food in birthday celebrations. So it's like this whole to-do about sugar. But I also go to I work currently at a private school that there's so many resources and everyone's so privileged that they can afford to have sugar be the biggest issue on their mind.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think we did a good job covering this stuff. Are there any other points that anyone wants to bring up?
I think we're okay. At least I hope so.
Yeah, I think we've had a good session.
Yeah. Well, I have a red button in front of me that says stop broadcast, so maybe I can push that and then email you guys the link to my wall, or you can just check and make sure that it comes up so that when it's submitted it displays publicly.
I think it goes to YouTube, yeah, and then you have to download it to YouTube or else upload the link for Teach Now. But I would put it on a private link. Yeah, I don't really want everybody in the world watching. It's not that they're going to, but.
Okay, who's the
Wisdom.
This will go viral.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it might go viral. Which one of you is the group leader?
You are.
You are.
Oh, I am? Wow. I'm normally organized at the beginning of the week, but I've just been with family all week and so out of the loop by Thanksgiving.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You're the only one who knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to know that I'm the group leader, so I'll make sure to submit this.
You're the George Washington of Teach Now.
Yeah.
You don't want the power, but you have it.
Well, thanks guys for making time on this Sunday, and I'm gonna push stop now. I'll talk to you
Okay,
later.
make sure it works and send us a message. Okay, bye. See you guys. Bye.
We got a few more.